What if 21 days were enough to change not only your bank account, but your financial destiny? It sounds bold, I know. But what if I told you that this kind of transformation doesn't come from a stroke of luck, nor just a lot of effort, and much less from empty promises? Real financial miracles, those that actually sustain freedom, stability, and growth, don't fall from the sky. They are born from constancy in ancient practices that unite intention, action, and purpose. This is what Jewish wisdom has been teaching for centuries, even if much of the world has not yet accessed it. It's no secret that the Jewish people have built one of the most resilient and financially prosperous cultures in history. But what almost no one talks about is that behind this there are spiritual and practical codes applied daily, like true rituals of alignment between mind, body, soul, and money. They don't live expecting a miracle. They bring about the miracle with discipline, wisdom, and direction. Today I'm going to show you 7 Jewish secrets that, if applied consistently for 21 days, can completely transform your relationship with money. And I'm not talking about magic. I'm talking about ancestral wisdom, of real, accessible practices that you can start right now, where you are. Small daily gestures that open big doors, as long as they are done with purpose. And on this journey, you will not walk alone. From now on, you are part of a movement, a crossing, and it starts here. Tell me in the comments, are you willing to commit to 21 days that can change everything? If you've landed on this video, it's because you know you're not looking for shallow formulas or empty promises. It is seeking true knowledge, with solid roots and real results. Here, we delve into centuries-tested principles, secrets that have sustained generations of prosperous people, even in the midst of the greatest adversity. And if that resonated with you, then this channel is your place. This is where you will find direction, depth, and spiritual strategy applied to finance. So take advantage now and subscribe to the channel. This way, you ensure that you will be together in each new stage of this journey. When we talk about 21 days, many people think that it is just a symbolic number, or an average time to create a new habit. But within Jewish tradition, 21 days are not just a chronological mark. They represent a complete spiritual cycle of transformation, of return, of repair. It's not just about time passing, it's about what happens inside you during that time. And it is precisely this vision that transforms a simple sequence of actions into a true code of financial renewal. In Jewish culture, there is a very significant period called Bein HaMetzarim, the days between troubles, which runs from the 17th of Tammuz to the 9th of Avi. These are exactly 21 days that, although they originate in a time of mourning and reflection, are considered moments of deep purification, where the people are called to look within, review their conduct, rebuild the foundations of their identity, and prepare for a new cycle. And this goes for all areas of life, including finance. The idea here is simple and powerful. Every external miracle begins with an internal movement back to the essence. These 21 days work as a behavioral mikveh, a kind of symbolic dive to purify not the body, but the way you relate to money, to cycles of scarcity, to repetitive patterns. Because what holds many people back financially isn't just a lack of resources. It's the unconscious repetition of misaligned choices. It is acting on autopilot, expecting different results. And that's why the 21-day time is not random. It's the space needed to break the old frequency and establish a new rhythm with consistency. The Torah and rabbinic texts always remind us that transformation does not come from impulse, but from constancy. That the greatest miracles in the history of the Jewish people happened when there was a continuous effort, not perfect, but daily. The miracle of the desert crossing, for example, did not happen in a single day. It was years of movement, with small decisions being made every morning. The same goes for the crossing of your financial life. You don't need a burst of change. It needs a cycle of conscious actions done with purpose. And that purpose is what gives meaning to each of the 21 days of code that you are about to live. During this time, it is not enough to do for the sake of doing. Every gesture, every practice, every word needs to be loaded with intention. This is the key of the Jewish people. Nothing is mechanical. Everything has direction. Even the simplest habits, such as organizing an account, saving a small amount, or giving frequently, are loaded with practical spirituality. They know that what is done with purpose reverberates. What is done with faith and discipline prospers. That's why the number of days matters. Because 21 is enough time to change the frequency you're emitting. Time to silence the inner voices that say nothing changes. Time to reprogram the look, posture, speech, and energy you put into your financial decisions. Don't expect to feel motivation every day, but expect something much bigger. A new alignment between who you are and what you want to manifest. This cycle also honors the way the Jewish people deal with time, not as something that is consumed, but as something that is fulfilled. Time is sacred. And if you dedicate those 21 days to your rebuilding, you're not just creating new habits. You're opening up a new spiritual and practical field for your prosperity to actually happen. In Jewish tradition, the word miracle does not carry the same mystical and passive weight that many imagine. It is not a matter of waiting for something extraordinary to fall from the sky while remaining motionless. Quite the opposite. The miracle within Jewish wisdom is the result of a precise encounter between intentional action and high purpose. It is not born of luck, but of the alignment between spirituality and daily practice. It is when the visible and the invisible work together, when physical exertion is connected with a motivation that transcends the material. There is a concept deeply rooted in Jewish tradition called segula. This word can be translated as a type of spiritual key, an act that, when done with intention, reverence, and discipline, opens channels of specific blessings. A segula is not a superstition. It does not replace personal responsibility, nor does it dispense with effort. It is a spiritual reinforcement for those who are already moving. It is like a physical action with spiritual repercussions, a simple gesture, but charged with energy and purpose. For example, there's a very old segula that recommends setting aside a coin every morning for Tzedakah, even if you don't donate until the end of the week. This seemingly simple practice has a much more profound effect than it seems. It not only activates the cycle of bestowal, but realigns, daily, your consciousness with the circulation of wealth. It is as if every day you say to the universe, I am ready to receive because I am already willing to share. And this type of posture changes everything. In Jewish thought, miracle is a consequence of alignment. Wealth is not sought just for wealth's sake, but as a reflection of a state of mind that understands the purpose of money, to serve, to build, to multiply wisely. When this understanding gets into the center of financial decisions, things start to flow with less resistance. Not because it has become easier, but because now everything has a greater meaning. And where there is purpose, there is direction. And where there is direction, there is blessing. That is why many prosperous Jews speak matter-of-factly about financial miracles. They're not saying that something happened by magic. They are saying that by living in line with their values, by respecting the cycles of giving, study, organization, and spiritual connection, doors have opened. Opportunities arose. Unexpected solutions came. All this because they were prepared, spiritually and practically, to receive. The true miracle, therefore, is not something out of your control. It starts with small decisions made with constancy, with the choice to honor money, to treat every action as sacred, to stop separating faith and finances as if they were opposite worlds. In the Jewish view, prosper is a mitzvah, a commandment. And when prosperity comes with balance, fairness, and purpose, it becomes part of something bigger than just numbers on the bill. And maybe you've never thought about it, that the miracle you expect may not be the burst, the turnaround, the prize. It may be the clarity you feel right now, the will to act differently, the sincere desire to live money as part of your mission and not as a burden, guilt, or obsession. This, in Judaism, is already a miracle. Because where there is internal transformation, the external begins to respond. Tell me here in the comments, for you, what would be a true financial miracle? He writes from the heart, even if it seems small. Sometimes naming the miracle is already the first step for it to manifest. It all starts with how you position yourself in front of what you want to transform. And, in the financial world, this could not be different. The way you behave, think, and even touch your money reveals and shapes your relationship with prosperity. The first secret of this 21-day journey is born from the Hebrew word mamad, which means position, posture, or placement. But more than something external, mamad is a spiritual state. It is the way you place yourself in front of something that carries energy, meaning, and impact. In Jewish lore, money has never been treated as a trivial thing. He is seen as a spiritual instrument. And like any sacred instrument, it requires posture. Not a posture of arrogance, but of reverence. A type of inner presence that demonstrates that you understand the importance of that resource. And that starts with the details. How do you hold a note? How do you open your wallet? How do you react to paying a bill? Is there a hurry, contempt, inattention? Or is there presence, intention, dominance? During this practice, the proposal is simple but profound. Every day when you move your money, when receiving, donating, investing, paying, or even viewing, enter the state of mamad. Do this with awareness. Hold on firmly and respectfully. Breathe before each action. Organize what is disorganized. Give place and value to what passes through your hands. Because prosperity is not activated in chaos. It responds to the internal order. When you treat your money as something that deserves honor, it begins to respond permanently. And when you position yourself with spiritual authority, the way resources circulate in your life changes completely. The second secret may seem strange at first glance. It talks about something you don't do, rather than what you do. It is the concept of sheharit, which comes from an ancient practice commanded in the Torah. When harvesting the field, the farmer should leave a small corner of the crop untouched. That part was reserved. No one played. It wasn't the owners. It was whoever needed it. And symbolically, it was also a reminder. Not everything is under your control. There is always a portion that belongs to the invisible, to the neighbor, to the purpose. Translating this into financial reality is one of the most powerful actions anyone can take, because Shi'arit teaches you to release total control, leaving a margin, to intentionally create a space where God can act, where positive chance can happen. The practical proposal is, set aside daily or weekly a symbolic percentage of what comes into your life. It doesn't matter how much. The intention matters. An envelope with value destined for an action of generosity. A small amount set aside for something that still has no destination, but has a purpose. A silent donation. An unexpected gift. A gesture with no calculated return. That small gesture activates something big. It disrupts the illusion of total control and opens a gap for the spiritual to participate in your prosperity. It puts you in a position of partnership with the unseen, because not all wealth is planned. Some come from doors you never imagined, of accesses that only open when you show that you don't need to control everything. These two secrets, the attitude toward what you already have, and the confidence to leave a portion for what you don't yet see, work together. While Mamad organizes and dignifies the presence of money in his life, Shi'arit frees and expands its flow. One balances, the other expands. Not every financial block starts in the pocket. Many of them have deep roots in unexpressed emotions, in anxiety that paralyzes, or in guilt that limits. And that's why the third secret of this journey doesn't talk about spreadsheets or investments, but about sound. Specifically, the ability to access frequencies that heal and open pathways. The Jewish mystical tradition holds a secret little explored in the financial world, Lashir leparnasa, which literally means to sing for sustenance. Singing not as entertainment, but as a spiritual bridge between the state of mind and material reality. For centuries, Jews have used nigunim, melodies without words, to lift the spirits, cleanse the heart, and bring peace to moments of decision-making. These chants are not about vocal performance, they're about vibration, about creating an internal environment of lightness, gratitude, and positive expectation. Because when the soul aligns with the right frequency, the body begins to act differently, and money, which is highly sensitive to emotional energy, also begins to respond. The practice is simple. Once a day for the next 21 days, take a moment of silence and sing. It can be a Jewish melody, a soft song, even a phrase of yours, such as a sung prayer. Do this while visualizing your money flowing freely, your work being recognized, your creativity being valued. Singing with intention clears the channels, loosens accumulated tensions, and it activates a field where abundance feels welcome. It is not just an emotional exercise, it is a spiritual strategy. Because in the Jewish world, joy is not a consequence of abundance. It is the soil where abundance grows. And when you start to generate internally what you want to see externally, the miracles start to make more sense. Not as something outside of you, but as a reflection of what you carry inside. The fourth secret goes even deeper and accesses what we don't always have the courage to look at. The areas of the soul that are stuck in the financial past, cycles that repeat themselves, fears that paralyze, situations where, no matter how hard you try, nothing seems to flow. In the Jewish tradition, when the soul is bound, life stagnates. And so there is a practice called pidyon nefesh, which literally means redemption of the soul. Pidyon nefesh is a spiritual act that seeks to free the soul from an area where it is blocked. Sometimes this manifests itself in an emotional relationship with money that has been marked by pain, shame, or scarcity. Other times by silent traumas, childhood humiliations, losses, bankruptcies, things that stay there, hidden, but silently controlling each choice. The money comes in and disappears. The fear of taking risks is greater than the desire to grow, and the rational mind doesn't understand why. But the soul knows. She feels where she is trapped. This secret invites you to something symbolic, but very powerful. Set aside an amount with a clear intention to break a cycle. It can be a small or larger amount. The amount doesn't matter. What matters is awareness. Write down on a piece of paper which cycle you want to break, where your soul needs to be released. And then, deliver that amount as an act of reconnection. It can be a donation, a gift with meaning, a gesture of retribution to someone who has helped you in the past. The important thing is that you declare, with this action, I'm ready to let go of this. I release. I reposition myself. This kind of practice is not a substitute for your practical action in the world, but it makes room for its action to work again. Because when the soul is free, the body moves again with direction. And when that happens, money notices and responds. There is an ancient law in Judaism that says that when you open the doors of your home to receive a visitor, you are actually receiving the divine presence. This practice is known as Hachnasat Orchim, and it goes far beyond literal hospitality. On the deepest level, it is a posture of openness to the new. Prosperity, like spirituality, needs space to enter, and often what prevents financial growth is not a lack of effort or opportunities. It is a lack of receptivity. Stagnant financial life is often a reflection of a closed mind, closed to advice, closed to new ideas, closed to different people, proposals out of the comfort zone, sincere feedback. The financial miracle that someone expects may have already knocked on the door, but without finding space, it passes right by. Hachnasat Orchim teaches that those who receive with honor attract what they need. Over the next 21 days, the proposal here is to intentionally create moments of symbolic openness. Invite a new idea to enter. Receive a different point of view without standing up. Ask someone you trust, what do you see that I haven't realized about my handling of money? Listen. Make room. Listen to an opinion that you would normally avoid. Connect with someone you've been ignoring in your work or family environment. Let your routine be crossed by another perspective. This type of opening breaks the internal rigidity, disarm the defense, and this is essential for growth. Prosperity comes where there is room. It recognizes where there is fluidity, circulation, permission. Therefore, those who open the door to others invariably see doors opening in their own journey as well. The next secret is perhaps one of the most transformative of all. It starts with an uncomfortable question. What is the financial discourse that you inherited? And repeat without realizing it. Phrases like, money is dirty, I'm terrible with numbers, this is not for me, I just want to pay the bills. These statements, when repeated for years, build an invisible identity, a verbal programming that becomes a lived reality. Judaism treats words with almost absolute respect. The world, according to the Torah, was created with words. The verb has creative force. And because of this, what you say about money is not neutral. It's a statement that shapes your field. That is why there is the principle of tikkun dibur, the reparation of speech. Tikkun means repair. Dibur means speech. It is the conscious act of healing, refining, and reprogramming what is said. The proposal here is very practical. For 21 days, write down every time you notice an automatic and negative speech related to money. Do not filter. It can be a joke, an outburst, a comment that you heard from your parents and repeat to this day without question. Then rewrite. Reconstruct that sentence with a new, intentional truth. For example, where before there was "money disappears from my hand," you write, "I am learning to take care of and multiply what I receive." Where before it was, "I don't have the head for this," you turn it into, "I'm developing financial intelligence consistently." This simple exercise, done seriously, changes your frequency. It begins to free you from old narratives that sabotage your present. Because what you say every day you get to live. And when the language changes, the mentality changes. And when the mindset changes, decisions change. And with different decisions, the financial results are starting to transform as well. Everything you've built in the last few secrets only becomes complete when you change the way you relate to what you already have in your hands. That's why the last secret of this sequence is about visible, everyday, palpable behavior. Kavod HaKesef is the Jewish way of teaching that money should be treated as an important guest. And like every guest, he realizes if he is welcome, if there is an order to receive him, if there is respect in the environment. The Jewish tradition is full of simple gestures but loaded with meaning. If a holy book falls to the ground, it is kissed. If an object of ritual use is about to be discarded, it is wrapped with care. This is not about superstition. It is about mindset. And money, while not sacred in itself, becomes a vehicle for sacred things when used with purpose. Therefore, honoring it is essential. This honor is revealed in the details, in the way you fold a note or leave it thrown, in taking care of your wallet or forgetting coins in any corner, in your willingness to look at your extracts or in the habit of avoiding them. Honoring money is not deifying it. It is recognizing that he has a function, and that no function operates well in an environment of contempt or neglect. Throughout these days, the proposal is that you observe and reformulate the way you take care of your money on the physical plane. It can be organizing your bills, cleaning out that forgotten drawer, digitizing your financial controls, or even giving new meaning to your shopping routine. Each gesture communicates to the universe and to your own mind, whether or not you're ready to manage what you're asking for. This secret closes the sequence because it requires that everything that has been done so far be applied with attention and respect. Financial miracles don't just happen in the invisible realm. They manifest themselves in visible, consistent, concrete attitudes. And the way you deal with what you already have is the first thermometer of your readiness to receive more. These 7 codes, Mamad, She'aret, Lashir Leparnasa, Pidyon Nefesh, Hachnasat Orkim, Tikkun Dibur, and Kavod HaKesef, do not operate in isolation. Each one is a gear, and when they rotate together, they begin to move something much bigger than just money. They move identity, energy, maturity, and vision. Now that this cycle has been activated, it's time to move on to the next stage. Because applying these secrets is just the beginning. There is a way to organize this in sequential practice, with structure and constancy, and that is exactly what we are going to build from now on. Now that the 7 secrets have been revealed, the real work begins, to turn all of this into daily practice, with direction and constancy. Because the difference between someone who only consumes knowledge and someone who experiences a real financial miracle is in the ritual, in the intentional repetition, in the daily commitment to small attitudes that, when added together, alter reality. That's why creating your own 21-day ritual isn't a detail. It's what will consolidate everything you've awakened so far. The first step is to structure your personal transformation calendar. Nothing complex. It can be done in a notebook, a planner, a whiteboard, or even a simple app on your cell phone. The important thing is that it is visible. May you look at it every day and remember, I'm in a cycle of change. Divide the 21 days into 7 blocks of 3, and within each block, dedicate yourself to one of the secrets. Thus, you will dive deeply without overloading, and allowing each Jewish principle to penetrate more strongly into your routine. But it's not enough to know what to do. You need to know when to do it. Therefore, set fixed schedules. This will create neurological and spiritual consistency. Choose a time of day for each micro-practice. For example, mornings for affirmations or reflections, tikkun dibur, evenings for reviews or practical actions, ma'amad, kavod hakesef, and a moment in the evening for a small donation, prayer, or listening, she'arit, lashir leparnasah. These daily milestones will act as mini portals. They don't have to be long, but they do need to be real, intentional, consistent. Another essential point is to record everything. Miracles require memory. The mind tends to forget the small victories, and with that, it disconnects from the process. Therefore, write down your feelings, advances, challenges, and perceptions. It can be in a notebook on purpose, a symbolic diary, or even a box where you put notes with phrases or words that marked you each day. At the end of the 21 days, this record will be a map, and also living proof of its transformation. To further strengthen this commitment, create a symbolic physical space. It doesn't have to be big, but it does need to be special. It can be a corner of your room with a candle, a stone with meaning, an image that represents abundance, an envelope written Tzedakah, where you put a small amount per day. This place becomes an anchor point where you daily reinforce your alliance with the process, because the environment speaks to the unconscious. When you create an outer space with intention, your inner world understands that something is being generated. This action plan is not meant to lock you into a rigid formula, but to give you rhythm, clarity, and structure. It is like the cycle of Jewish holidays. Everything has a beginning, middle, and end. And this is what differentiates the miracle that manifests itself from the desire that is lost in time. Those who commit to a cycle prepare to receive what this cycle promises to deliver. Tell me in the comments, are you going to create your ritual? Write a word here that represents the space you want to build. It can be focus, intention, change, or the name of one of the secrets that touched you the most. And if this plan has already inspired you to put everything into practice, comment, I'm within 21, because this journey is now yours. There are stories that don't need to be invented, because reality already speaks with more power than any metaphor. And when we start to look carefully at the trajectory of some people who have applied these principles, even without fanfare, even away from the spotlight, we notice an invisible but extremely consistent pattern. The secret to lasting prosperity is not just in talent or opportunities. It is in the silent and repeated way in which certain people experience money as an extension of their spirituality and purpose. A striking example is that of a small Jewish family that, during one of the worst economic crises of its generation, did not reduce its practice of tzedakah, daily giving. On the contrary, he continued to set aside a symbolic amount every morning even before opening the cashier of the family grocery store. Many around did not understand. To some, it seemed irresponsible, but for them, it was a non-negotiable act of trust. The money that came out early was like the seed that is planted in the dark, with faith that something invisible is already moving. And over the months, while surrounding businesses closed their doors, that grocery store not only remained, but grew. The clientele became loyal, new partnerships emerged, and they themselves attributed this flow to the constancy of the practice, not out of superstition, but out of alignment. In another case, a young Jewish entrepreneur who grew up hearing negative phrases about money at home decided to break this cycle by using the principle of tikkun dibur. For 3 weeks, he made a conscious effort to rewrite the automatic sentences that came from childhood. He replaced "money is suffering" with "money is a tool for achievement." He changed "there's never anything left" for "I generate more than I need." At the same time, he began to organize his financial routine with more order and presence. In less than 2 months, not only did his company start hitting goals he had never achieved, but he was also able to pay off old debts that previously seemed impossible to solve. According to his own account, the money has not changed much, but he has changed, and that made everything reorganize around. There is also the case of a Hebrew teacher who applied Kavod Hakesef's secret in an almost poetic way. Every day, as she kept the coins she received from the students after private lessons, she made a small blessing in silence, as if she were consecrating that value to something greater. His classes were simple, but loaded with meaning, and it didn't take long for her to start receiving invitations to teach in larger spaces, with wider audiences, and of course, with a remuneration that previously seemed out of her reality. When asked what changed, she said, "I've stopped treating money as leftovers. I started to treat it as a beginning," and that's exactly what he became in her life. The beginning of a new phase. These stories are no exception. They are part of a pattern that is repeated among those who understand that finance is not just numbers. They are mirrors of the soul, reflections of what is or is not healed, of what is or is not aligned with something greater. Therefore, the practice of the 21 days is not only symbolic, it is transformative, because it activates a new frequency, a new rhythm, a new internal disposition. Everything you have heard so far is not theory, nor distant tradition. These are codes that have crossed generations, sustained communities in times of scarcity, and continue to be applied, silently, by those who thrive consistently and consciously. And perhaps the greatest miracle of all is not in what arrives, but in the decision to build internal space so that what arrives remains. The miracle you hope for begins with the commitment you make. During those 21 days, what really transforms is not the amount of money coming in. It's the kind of presence you put into every act. Be careful with what comes out, the intention with what circulates, the truth you get to talk about your financial reality. When you wake up every day and choose to apply a secret like this, even for 5 minutes, you are reprogramming your identity. He is saying with action, "I am someone who builds prosperity with consciousness," and that changes absolutely everything. It's not about becoming someone else, but about accessing what was already in you and just needed activation. And if you've made it this far, this activation has already begun. Now it's your turn to move, to take this content, bring it to real life, and get started. Without expecting perfection, without having to understand everything, just start. Because the miracle walks with those who walk. This channel is a living community, where every story counts, where we grow together with truth, direction, and applied spirituality. And if this content has given you clarity, purpose, or even that jolt you needed, make this gesture of reciprocity. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel now. That way, you don't miss a single step on this journey, because what comes next goes even deeper, and real transformation happens when we go together. In the next video, I'll show you why money only stays with those who have the emotional and spiritual structure to sustain it. A lot of people even achieve something, but he loses everything, without understanding why. You'll discover what's holding you back from holding on to what you've achieved, and how to break this cycle of silent loss. Don't miss this next step. He is crucial for everything you started becomes permanent. Let's go together. The journey is just beginning.